Now, if you, at the beginning of the academy where we talk about your standards and, you know, what to do with drink, diet, alcohol, exercise, all that type of stuff, sleep, you know, all that shit, you know, isn't that mindset? Well, yeah, to a degree it is, because you need to have a certain level of mindset to do those things and follow through. But like everything else in your life and in business, things go up and down. There are periods of success and failure. There are ups and downs. There are times where you got loads of leads and sales, and times where you got less, and times things fluctuate. Things always fluctuate. And I learned this, especially in your position now, where, you know, you win a job. Oh my God, the best thing ever. Fucking emotions run high. It's like, whoa, you know, this is it. And, you know, I've cracked it. So this is how they're all going to unfold now. And all these unrealistic emotions start flowing. And the same thing happens when you lose a job. You think, oh, fucking hell, you know, I couldn't convert a carrot here. You know, what is going on? What is going wrong? And this is the emotional roller coaster that you will endure, no matter what you do in life. Because when things are good, we think it's always going to be good. When things are shit, we always think it's going to be shit. And this is where mindset needs to rule the roost, and experience, which in the business world, you know, a lot of you don't have, is where you need to listen to me here and take this message in, because this goes for employees, self-employed people. This mindset stuff is not, it's not reserved for people who want to be successful in business. This is going to carry you through jobs, careers, relationships, everything. Obviously, I'm going to talk specifically about our world, but when you have a certain mindset and you are wired a certain way, or let's go a bit further into that, when you're wired the fucking wrong way, which most of us are, and we need to rewire that thinking, you know, that is where the hard work is. Because when you've got to sort of get out of this mindset that you've got and get into a new one, you know, it is difficult. And not riding the emotional roller coasters is, again, it takes a mindset to know that this is emotion and this is reaction, and this is what I shouldn't do, and what I need to do is respond, not react, and things like this. But whether the world is good or bad to you at any one time, because again, that will fluctuate. You know, there'll be times where you love us and you think, oh, it's the best thing I've ever done. And there'll be times where you think, I fucking hate them because this has happened, or that's, you know, and I'm having a bad time, and I, you know, want to blame someone, you know, and that's mindset again. You know, this is all mindset. And this is why when you've heard me talk about taking responsibility, you know, blaming yourself for the problems, no matter what they are, that's taking responsibility. That's the mindset that successful people have. And people that don't play the victim, because the bad mindset, you know, let's start with the negative for a minute. A bad mindset is basically a victim. A victim mentality is just a bad mindset, and it's as simple as that. Blaming someone else, distancing yourself from problems, having a bad attitude, you know, playing circumstances, just all those things that people do that don't benefit themselves but make themselves feel better because it's someone else's fault. It's not ever someone else's fault. It's your fault, and it's my fault. And that's why the right mindsets will always be the most successful, because they won't dwell on shit. They'll you know, it's happened or whatever, and they get on with it. They always see the bigger picture, and that's what a good mindset will allow you to do. So, but why is it so important? So again, I've talked about the things that fluctuate and why things aren't always helpful from early on in life. So the thing is with mindset, it's omnipresent. So what do I mean by omnipresent? Well, omnipresent means it's everywhere. And your mindset is everywhere. No matter what you think about, do, say, wherever you are wired a certain way. And it either goes in your favor or against you. It doesn't, very rarely is neutral. You know, it's either helping you or not helping you. And a part of tonight is digging into that and trying to understand. And you're not going to get there tonight, by the way. This may, open up uncomfortable thoughts and feelings, but those that confront them will succeed, and those that don't possibly won't. Not saying you definitely won't, but you'll struggle. If you don't get your mindset right and understand yourself, you will find everything difficult. Not just trying to be successful at this, but trying to be successful at anything, because everybody has a certain level, that they sort of get to, and they then become restricted by things that are usually invisible. So it's not ever anyone else that stops you from getting where you want to get. It's just you. Only you will stop you from getting there. So it's omnipresent. So your mindset is literally everywhere you go. And it's also one of the only things that you can control. Because again, we all want a bit of control. We all want to feel like we're in control, shall we say. And what we need to sometimes realize is that there are only so many things that we can control. Your mindset is one of them. And I won't ever be told any different that, all right, some people might be at a bit of a handicap where they've had, parents that haven't been that good to them growing up. They've had, abusive relationships with, caregivers or spouses or whatever it is early on in life that can control and shape your mind early on. So it can be a handicap to us, but it is ultimately something that we can all control. If even if we need to rewire it, that can be done. This is not all out of the realms of possibility. But if we don't take the time to understand ourselves, we'll never know. So the key to control is not controlling the external events. It's controlling your own mind. Like I said, it is one of the things, the mindset, that you can control. You can get a grip of it if you so try. And the thing is with mindset, it will never be natural. It will never be natural. And I think there is a book called The Chimp Paradox, which is about this. It's like the chimp brain and the human brain. I think it's along these sorts of lines with mindset. And, you'll always have emotional reactions to things. You'll always have emotional reactions to things. And you'll always start with that chimp brain. Do you get what I mean? You'll always want to react. You'll always want to, give it loads. But we need to get back to this sort of more human or robotic thinking, whichever way you look at it, where we get those emotions under control quickly, and understand that is something that we can control. And external events we cannot control a lot of the time, but we can control what goes on in our head. Now, mindset, once you've got it right or wrong, again, I look at, I'm going to focus on academy members tonight. I'm going to look at the people that have made it and the people that haven't, and the people that aren't with us anymore, and look what choices they made. And it's interesting for me because obviously it's a fairly large network now, and it's really interesting for me to see the types of people that make it and the types of people that don't. And they all have similar mindsets. The successful people have a similar mindset. They all birds of a feather flock together. And the people that are no longer with us, which funnily enough, they're the people that you think were going to really make it. The people that were outspoken and like, you always heard of them, and they're the people that amounted to fuck all in the end. And that's not because I bigged them up; it's because they bigged themselves up. And again, that's a mindset thing again, that needing external validation from people was never a good thing, and it just never turned out to be helpful in the long run. You can get short-term results from other people validating you, but you will never get long-term results from that, because ultimately when you go to bed every night, there's only you there on that pillow. And if your head isn't in the right place and you're trying to impress other people, or you're playing games, eventually you will get tired of that because it's not real. And when you are validating yourself because of your own efforts and you're seeing the fruits of those labors, then you will feel a lot better. Because with the right mindset, we all make choices, like what I was saying a minute ago. The people that make the right choices with the right mindset, make it, and the mindset that these people have make the wrong choices sometimes, and you're like, you can see it. But again, remember that once we make choices, they are irreversible. It's very rare that you can make a choice and then reverse it somehow, because once it's out there, it's out there. Once you've said something, you've said it. If it doesn't land very well, it's fucking landed. So it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter. It can matter, but that's why your mindset and controlling what comes out of here and what goes on in between these is really important. And then what you actually do as a result, it's just so important, because once it's happened, and the consequences can be good, but they can also be bad. So it is time to obviously wake up the right parts of the brain and start to understand where we're at. So starting off with number one. So what I'll do is I'll be giving you these slides that you can see on the screen here at a different time. Let me see if that works instead better. But the slides aren't really important, but these slides I will be sending you, okay? So the first slide here is about power of the mind. Your thoughts shape your reality. Your brain can't tell imagined stress from real danger. You will never outperform your self-image, and the stories that you repeat will become your truth. So choose them wisely. So when we're looking at those points there, just to recap, your thoughts shape your reality. So if you think shit happens, and I've said this to Lee loads of times as well. And I've seen this with customers in real time. Like, some customers are destined for everything to go wrong on their job. Evening, mate. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. So when some customers and people are just shit magnets, and I've said this, I've mentioned this on Facebook Lives before, where some people just attract shit because they think like shit, and I've seen it with my customers, like in the past, where we've been doing a project for someone and they just start being a negative twat, and things just start going wrong on site, and then something else goes wrong, and then they find something else, and you're like, fucking, how can so many things go wrong on one job? And it's always, weirdly, I'm not saying that it's the customer's fault here, but there's something going on in the universe that I don't understand, but it's along these lines of your thoughts shape reality. And I've seen people that are just a bit negative, where just shit just finds them all the time. Somehow shit finds them. So again, be careful what you think about. And I really do believe that. I really do believe that you need to be careful what you think about, because these things usually, the things that you think about usually transpire. And that's why the people that constantly worry and the constant negative people, they just never get where they want to be. And the people that can see things and go, right, yeah, I'm going for that, and I'm doing this and doing that, even if they're doing it badly, who cares? They're having a go, and they will get it right. They'll get better over time. It's really important not to think in the negative sense. Now, the next point, you will never outperform your self-image. And again, if you don't already see yourself as a successful person, you will not become one. It is that simple. You've got to see yourself now as the person you want to be. You won't just morph into something by magic unless you have a vision for yourself. And I can't. And that vision for yourself is what we call our self-image. And then that's what we're going to go into in a bit. This is where, if you see yourself as a tradesman who's not good with technology, and you label yourself with all these things, that is how you see yourself. So then when you listen to me and you go in the academy, and you may find it a bit difficult because you're wearing these labels, going, well, I'm not good on computers, and he's asking me to do a blog. Oh, I don't know how to do that. It's like, well, if you keep fucking telling yourself that you don't know how to do it, then guess what? You won't know how to do it, and you'll stop yourself from learning how to do it because you're telling yourself the story. So your self-image, you are telling yourself that you're this, 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 and this, and none of those things are actually productively taking you where you want to be. So you won't if you tell yourself them stories and then you sit down in front of the computer, you're already going to find it difficult because because you won't outperform your self-image. Does that make sense? But if you sit there and rephrase it and go, yeah, I am useless with things like that, but I need to fucking learn. I've got to do it, and I want to learn, and I want to get on with it, and I see myself as, you know, someone who's successful who can do these things. So there you go. I need to fucking do them. You know, I need to lock in and just get on with it. And if I do a shit job, I'll get some feedback off Aaron O'Leary or someone in the academy, you know, and ask them what they think, and I'll go through it. And I see myself as a person that learns and a person that wants to be successful, and it will do anything to get there. And that's all that you need to see yourself as early on. So then whenever you sit down to do tasks, you know, you are not sat there with a negative headspace before you even start, and then wonder why you can't get into it because you always shit talking yourself. So the power of the mind here, just to go back to that slide, just so you can be reminded of it. The power of the mind. Your thoughts shape your reality. Like I've already said, if you think about shit, you'll get more of it. If you think about positive things, guess what might happen there as well? You'll never outperform your self-image. So if you sat there telling yourself you're shit at things, and then you try and do them, then you ain't going to be very good at them because you're already making sure that you're going to fail. So, and then the stories that you repeat become your truth. So choose them wisely. And this is sort of an amalgamation of the two above, where you've got the thoughts and then the self-image. So these are all wrapped into the same thing. So, you know, if I sat there and said, for instance, you know, people like think about when we joined the academy, I always use myself as the example because I'm a living and breathing example stood in front of you. That is proof that once upon a time I sat in front of the camera like this, right? And made this thing that I thought, I'm going to call it KDB Academy. Fuck knows why. Sounds cool. It's KDB, it's learning, it's academy, you know, whatever, you know. And then I made a load of videos, and I thought, you know what, I can actually help people doing what I did. And, you know, for all I know, someone that might have just been a complete failure, and people would have gone, what a pile of shit. But I believed, and I knew that because I'd done it myself. And when I looked at it and I thought, realistically, I want to say it wasn't difficult. It was difficult for me, but I can make this a lot easier for people. Now, and I know there's lots of people out there that want to do this. So, but the industry's rigged against them. So I seen myself as the person that would one day be recognized as the guy that unlocked that and made a bridge across that valley, if you like, so fitters can get where I got, like I did, but a lot easier. Yeah, and that basically is it. And I see myself as that guy. Am I that guy right now? No. You know, am I there yet? No. I know some people will say that, but not enough. Not enough for me to be happy. You know, not enough for me to go, do you know what? Yeah, that mission is done. This mission's fucking nowhere near done. And every day I wake up with that self-image of myself going, I want to be that guy. You know, I want to be the guy that helped all those people and put all the tools and support in front of them to make their life better, because that's what that industry needs. And these big boys and these big companies have no interest in helping them. And I want to be that person. And that's it. And that's my self-image. So that's why it's important to lock into what your self-image is. And say, right, okay, you know, and again, when I was in your shoes early on, my self-image at that point was, I want to be known as the best business in this area. That's the best customer service, and it has the best sort of, it wasn't even the best products. And I've said this loads of times, it's not about the best products and, oh, I want the best worktops, and fuck that. Customers can get that from anywhere. What I wanted to be known as was the person who really cared for my customers the most. If someone wanted looking after, they would come to me. Yeah. That was my thing. I'd have the most reviews, I'd have the best website, I'd have the best customer journey, I'd have the best warranty. Customers would get replied to at 10 o'clock at night. Whenever it was that they sent an email in, they would get a response. That was the standard that I wanted for my business, and that was it. And I made that happen. You know, and that is all really that you probably need to do something similar along those lines. And then when you get there, you can then decide what you want to do with your life from there. Like I did, I got there, you know, made my money, if you like, made my life, made what I needed to make of myself to feel happy. And then that gave me the springboard to do something else. And then that's the same thing that you will do. and you'll probably keep that business moving, but you've got to get the self-image has got to be ahead of you. You cannot be just sat there thinking that one day it's going to turn into something without any thought of where it's going or where you're going. Okay, so that's the first one, the power of the mind, and those 3 points should sit there very strongly, which are: thoughts shape your reality, you'll never outperform your self-image, and the stories that you repeat become your truth. They do. So choose them wisely. If I stop telling myself tomorrow that I won't become that guy that's, helps all these people, then the academy will get worse over time. You know what I mean? It will deteriorate as a result, because my self-image starts to shrink and everything starts to become shit because I'm not pushing myself anymore. And I don't know, that cannot happen, because we're trying to do something special here. So we need to do special things, and that requires special people as well that can dig in and get things done. So that's the first one out of the way, power of the mind. So the next one, which is something I sort of touched on before, was programming from childhood. So your beliefs, fears, and behaviors were wired before you could choose them. Many business owners are mentally programmed not to succeed, but awareness creates freedom that you can rewire your future. So let's look at some of your comments that are in the chat there. I'll see if I can get them on here. I don't know if I can actually. I don't know if it works, but no, it doesn't. I'll come back to that another time. There's a feature on here where I can get the chat working, but where you can see it on the screen. But so Jacob said, some people totally manifest problems. Loads of people are like that. We all need a little more confidence. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. But the clear plan of where you want to be, and again, the biggest one is the self-image. And again, Scott's point on procrastination being your biggest weakness is because I guarantee with the procrastination thing is there's a lack of planning. There always is with procrastination. There's always a lack of planning. And are you the type of person, again, what self-image are you running with, basically? And what are you telling yourself? Because that will be why you're doing these things. And procrastination sometimes is, there's a thing called productive procrastination as well. And I'm not saying that it's always productive, but there is a sense of procrastination sometimes that something doesn't get done, sometimes because it doesn't need to be done. So that's where being finely tuned into where you're actually trying to get to in life, and your to-do lists are actually things that move the needle in life, is important. Now, when you know where you're trying to get to and you have that self-image that is clear on what's happening and where you're trying to get to, you tend to procrastinate less. Again, we're going to come on to some of this in a minute around this. So let's just stick to the point of this slide at the moment. Programming from childhood. So, this is not something I can, go into in loads of detail because it's such a big subject. But, what relationship did you have with your caregivers, your parents, the people around you? What did they teach you? Because the likelihood is, statistically, some of it, if not a lot of it, sometimes all of it, is not helpful in terms of trying to be successful, because they weren't successful in the sense that you're trying to be most of the time. I'm not saying we don't have successful families. That is not meant to be personal. Please don't comment on that. It's just statistically in society, and I don't mean, I suppose, yeah, corporate success can be included, I suppose, but where you're trying to do something slightly different, you've got to be really careful what you've been told, the stories you've been told, how you manage money, how you behave as a human being is all from the first few years of being alive. Now, I don't fucking know where you've all been, and just to some massive degree, you won't even know, because you'll think you know, but you don't know. And this is where the real soul searching, when you're trying to get somewhere big in life and you go, right, my self-image is this, and I've got motivation for that and all that, I think this is the banana skin one, because this is the one that people will overlook. They won't dig into it because it can be uncomfortable. But ultimately, this will be what holds them back, because there'll be behaviors that they repeat time and time and time again, and they won't really know why. And they'll never take the time to understand why. And then, ultimately, that's why some people can, like we've seen with some people, and again, I'm going to keep it very, very academy specific, where they come in the academy, they do really well for 6 months, and then boom, they're gone. And for a period of time, everything looked like it looked like it would never end. It looked perfect. But what I start to see now is that, again, and this is why I'm obsessed with trying to make the academy successful. This is something that's in there, because when people do this, they are usually seeking external validation from me, Lee, people in the academy. Other people want to be seen at event, being successful, want to be seen is the issue. And that comes from programming from elsewhere. Fuck all to do with the academy. It's nothing to do with me. Not because the academy doesn't work. It's not because of anything other than they're carrying traits that implode at some point. Yeah. And I've sort of alluded to this a few times in the academy about not liking people that come in and are too enthusiastic, because it just can't be sustained. It can't be sustained. And that's why the 12 steps to freedom and the stuff that I talk about sometimes, I think some people can see it as a bit boring. They're like, why is it not so exciting? Because one, I'm realistic. Two, I don't want people flocking around me thinking I'm some sort of fucking guru that's there to, sell them some snake oil shit that won't last. I'm just teaching you how to repeat what I did. That's it. And for the right people, it will work fucking perfectly. For a long time. And for the wrong people, it will work in the short term and then fizzle out. Or they won't ever get going because they thought that I was going to do it for them, which again is like, oh, if I join it's not my academy, but people have said to me, I'm doing your program, I run in your academy. It's not my academy, it's your fucking academy. It's your opportunity. It's fuck all to do with me. We're just putting something in front of you. You either, stare the gift horse in the mouth and fucking walk away from it, or you take advantage, and that is all down to you. There's nothing we can do to make that happen for you, really. We try, but that's one thing that I've said to Lee is, look, you can't, and not just Lee, but like everybody in KBB, we can't if the horse is at water and it ain't fucking drinking, we can't force it. Getting into arse wiping mode, it doesn't help people, because if we take responsibility away from you, and the accountability, we are there to support you. We are there to support you, and you've got to move. You've got to push the momentum forward, and we're there to keep you in between the lines. That's the way it is. And people have seen that we're there to bring the momentum forward as well. Then that's not the case. The momentum forward has to come from you wanting something to happen and understanding why in the past you have not reach the levels that you want to reach, and it's always because of this programming from childhood. It always is. We are born with stuff that is counterproductive, and it's a shame, but it's easily the one that you should reflect on the most, because if you do, you will uncover things and go, fucking hell, I've got a habit that I do this. I have this sort of weird habit that, and then understand what that is and why it happens and all the rest of it. And even if it takes a bit of therapy to work these things out, honestly, it's worth it, because it will unlock your emotional intelligence to the point where you let your ego die off. You will be better on surveys. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's true. You'll be better on surveys. You'll do better looms because you're more relaxed. You're not asked about what the customer's thinking about your video. Like now, I couldn't give two fucks about what you think about what I look like on this video. I'm so over all that. It's because, you know, I've done the work to understand things about myself, and I look at it and go, if someone's going to look at a video of me like a loom or something like that and not like the way I speak, not the way, and they can't take value out of me as a person, that's their fucking problem and not mine. You know, and I can't try to please everybody, and that's called being grounded. And understanding these things is really important if you want to be successful, because you will never please everybody. You will never please everybody. And, you know, some of this programming from childhood makes us want to try and please everybody, and it's impossible, you know, or seek validation, or people with fragile egos. It usually comes from childhood, and understanding the influences that you've had around you. And it's uncomfortable work to do, but it has to be done. Maybe for those that just get on with it and do it and have never done this work, maybe you've probably had a better upbringing than what you think. You know, it can go both ways. I'm not saying everyone's been, you know, dragged through the hedge backwards as a kid, and some of it will be very subtle. But some people have been set up really well. You know, some people are steady. That's why I like the people that are steady away and realistic and go, yeah, you know, I've been in it for a while. You know, you've heard me mention the names before. You know, the people that I think about that just take it steady and stay in control. You know, stay in control and stay grounded. That's the key to it. It is the key, and not trying to get somewhere really far inside the first 12 months and aim at, actually, this is, if I'm 40 now, by the time I'm 50, I know this can get me there. If I'm 50 now, by the time I'm 60, it can get me there, or whatever your age is, you know, and 10 years is a long time. It won't take that long, but you understand what I'm saying? That's the mindset, again, that you got to have, that you got to be in it for the long run, not looking for short-term fixes, because if this is a long-term solution, so if you see it as a short-term solution, then guess what? You'll go looking for another short-term solution that won't be another short-term solution. It never is. And this is why your mindset must always be wired to the long term. Again, I don't always get this perfectly right. I've made some fucking howlers in the last 12 months, which which the chickens are coming home to fucking roost now. And I will have to sort these problems out. But, you know, we don't always stop and take stock of the long term and go, well, actually, you know, this might solve something in the short term, but that long term game will always come back to fuck you, always. So having the awareness, and the ownership of all this is really important. Learning who you are professionally and personally is really key. So, like I say, what needs to change for you to move forward? What is the magic wand here? So, how many times have I mentioned that, where I've said, you know, if you had the magic wand, what would you do? And, you know, if you've got like procrastination being a problem, you're, you know, crying about your loom videos because you don't like being on camera, because, you know what I mean, fucking up, you know, this is why I despair with people, because, you know, my mindset is of a certain way. And that's why people think that, you know, sometimes, you know, you can be like this or you can be like that. And I'm like, no, it's because I've got a certain mindset and I see the value of things. And when people don't, it naturally just grates on me. It just grates on me, you know, and I try to coach people through these things, but I do find it difficult when people just won't see things. They just refuse to think differently. And ultimately, it'll be them that suffers in the long run. It just frustrates me that other people can't snap out of it. So Jacob's comment, so not the best upbringing at all, left home at 19, now 33, built a steady business, self-employed, now married, have 2 beautiful children. I don't see any of my toxic family, taking myself away from all the negative people. I've always been driven to give myself a better life for me and my own little family. Yeah, and again, you know, well done to you. Controlled the bubble, and, you know, like I've always said about my wife and kids, that we're in a bubble. And, you know, it's our job to protect that bubble. And that's why the academy, again, is so important, because it does open the door to more cash, more responsibility, more purpose. And as a man of the family, it really does help to have that in one way, shape or form. You know, not saying that, you know, there's other ways to achieve that, but the academy definitely can help with that. And I know that for us that run the academy, we get a lot of purpose from it as well, because, you know, we get to see this, and it means a lot. So Rick has said the loom has been a game changer for us. Yes, we were comfortable to start, but now we do it like everything. The more you do it, the more natural it is. Nowhere near perfect, but so much positive feedback regarding them. Again, because you're just bringing people closer in, you know, to who you are as a person. And when you're a grounded individual, the looms just give that customer the opportunity to feel what type of person you are. And most of you that are in the academy now, or all of you that I'm aware of, there's no reason why any of you shouldn't be making this a huge success down the line, because it really is. It's got the right people in it now. It has. So it's a case of us making it work. So here's one that's important. The fears we do not face become our limits. And this is one that you need to sit with for a little moment, because just think about that in a bit more detail. The fears we do not face become our limits. And it just sort of doesn't make sense at first, but then you go, yeah, because we do sort of stop at the things we're a little bit afraid of, don't we? You know, and where, again, can we apply that thinking into the academy itself? Doing your 90 minutes, sitting in front of your computer, doing a blog, doing a case study, doing the things that I tell you all the fucking time, doing the weekly checklists and all the rest of it. It's a fear at the beginning because we haven't done it before and it's new. But if we don't face that fear, it does become a limit. And it's so true, that saying, because, you know, we don't want those things to be limits, because they are the things that grow our brand. And again, the self-image comes back into play here. What are we actually afraid of? What are we actually afraid of? Because the self-image, if you want to be the successful person, you're visualizing yourself as that successful person. What is it you're actually afraid of? You know, am I going to let something stop me so trivial than that? You know, am I going to keep on procrastinating on things that I know are important when I've got a family to look after? You know, the answer really should be no, shouldn't it? You know, it shouldn't be anything other than, I'm not going to let something so trivial that I'm afraid of become one of my limits that keeps me stuck where I am forever. You know, and I'm not saying people are in bad situations, but we all want to move forward. Progress is progress at the end of the day. And everybody wants progress. As men, as biological men, we need to have purpose. We need to move forward. This is something that we need to achieve. We cannot sit still as men. It just isn't a man's natural state. It's just to accept the status quo and plod. You know, it just isn't. And the other thing to sort of bring into this is women don't find it sexy. You know, and I'm not going all Andrew Tate here, but it's nice to be following, you know, chasing a purpose and a dream and doing something that's really meaningful for the people around you, you know, and that is something that, you know, you will get a lot of respect for. And it is something really worthy of chasing in life, because, well, I just look what it's done for me. You know, I look at what the life it's allowed me to provide for my family over the last, you know, 10, 12 years. And, you know, not that it's all been plain sailing, it hasn't, but, you know, they've had a better life than what they would have had if I hadn't have bothered. You know, that's for sure. So, you know, but everything comes at a cost. You know, there's more time spent building a business, less time with your family. That has ramifications at times, which I felt a few times and recently. So, you know, it's, again, this is life, but we make choices like, you know, pick your heart. How many times have we said that? You know, for those of you at the event who listened to Lee's bit about the walk at the beginning, where he said, you know, that way was hard, that way was hard. Both ways are fucking hard. You just need to pick one. You know, I've always said being skint is hard. You know, because people have said to me a lot in the past, why did you grow a business? Why did you do business? Why are you into all that? And I'm like, you know, because it's hard being skint and it's hard being rich or wealthy or whatever you want to call it. You know, it's difficult. There's difficulties down both of those avenues. Now, which one would you rather have? What set of circumstances would you rather struggle with? I mean, I know which one I want, because, on the hard days, I can still enjoy nice things. When you skin and you're on a hard day, there's nothing nice to enjoy because you fucking skin, and that is not nice. So, it's double shit. So, that's the way that you want to sort of start thinking about things in the long run. So let's move on. So again, let's not let the fears that we've got become our limits. Let's make sure that we're always in front of in front of ourselves with that, because if we stop at trivial things and they become a fear, they also become a limit. And once they're there, they're there. You're not going to get it back. So the next one is resilience versus fragility. You will fail. You are going to fuck things up. I've said to you loads of times that you need to fail your way forward, not succeed your way forward. So you will fail. The question is, will you survive it? Fragile egos collapse under pressure. Strong mindsets absorb and adapt. Once you lose control, it's hard to get it back. And there's something going on for me at the minute, which honestly, this is being hammered home so hard. And it's not me personally, but fragile egos collapsing under pressure. Fucking hell, strong mindsets absorb and adapt. It's really interesting, isn't it? Because you think about people and go, how have you reacted to this and how have you reacted to that? And what's been your response to things, and what's been your response to things? And you can see it straight away, can't you? The fragile egos are just capitulate, boom. As soon as there's a problem, boom. Whereas the strong mindsets go, actually, yeah, spot that. Right, I love that. I'll adapt and move on. And this is where, again, the self-image is important, because the self-image being under control helps the ego stay under control. And therefore we don't collapse under pressure. And a lot of collapsing under pressure, by the way, just to go into that a little bit more, is because sometimes there's a warped self-image that I am this and I am that. And that's where you've got to ground the self-image in what's actually the right purpose of what you're trying to do, and not build it around arrogance and being superior to other people, because that is another banana skin. Don't build a self-image. Don't think you can rewire your self-image to just be like, well, I'm just going to be this and I'm going to be that and I'm going to be mint and everyone else is going to be shit. Because that, again, is poisonous. And you need to be grounded in the purpose of what it is you're trying to do and why you're trying to do it. And not, again, and it's got to come from in here. It can't be out there. It can't be because I want to be superior to other people. I need to be seen like this, and that's how I want to be seen. Because then if something goes wrong, that fragile ego is just going to go, woof. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's where, being grounded in your family and being grounded in the things that make you happy and the things that give you purpose, and not what other people think or your peers or people around you. It's important to get that right. Because again, resilience versus fragility. Being resilient to problems are going to come. You can't just have success and just go, yeah, here is success and that's it. You wanted it, so here it is. It doesn't happen like that. What happens is you decide that you want to be successful, and then the universe starts scatterbombing you with shit problems. Well, and the universe sort of says, well, you've told me that you want to get to here. Okay, so you've built this self-image of that you want to get to here. So then what the universe then does is goes, yeah, I'm going to try and pull you back down to earth at every single opportunity, because everything that you're trying to do, you are not worthy of it unless you prove these things. Yeah, and that is basically how I see it works, because every time you try and take a step forward, there's always someone trying to pull you back. Not other people, just circumstances. And again, the victims blame other people, but it's circumstances that pull you back, because you will see yourself while you're here in your comfort zone. Nothing's coming to attack you. In your comfort zone, you don't get attacked. And if you do, it's easy to stave off that attack. Now, when you go outside your comfort zone and go, actually, my new self-image. So your self-image one's looking at every 6 months, easily, maybe every 3 months, because you should be progressing all the time. So if you sort of like you're here in your comfort zone and you step out of it, you go back, then you catch back up to your comfort zone, because things become normal again. And when you move the comfort zone a bit further up and a bit further up and a bit further up, this gap in the middle here is just failure, 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 failure. And the only way you get back into your comfort zone is by stop failing, because you get better. But then because you evolve, you move it again. Do you understand what I mean? And you go through this cycle. And that's why probably like in our business, every 6 to 12 months, so about a few months of things being okay, things being linked, and then it goes to shit again, because I get the goalposts and go, right, now they're there. And everyone's got to fucking move to those goalposts. And, you know, the harsh reality is that every time then goalposts move, not everybody will be able to hit the goal. Do you get what I mean? Because it'll be like, well, now you've got to deploy a different tactic to achieve the goal this time. So what happens is, you know, people can't achieve it anymore because the business evolves and you evolve and all the rest of it. So the bar is constantly being risen. And the same should be right in your business, you know, and again, if the bar being risen now is just literally sitting down and doing your 90-minute sessions, and that's your new normal, then that's what you need to do. And like us in our business, we want to achieve things that are different to the last 12 months. So then the next 12 months, the comfort zone is going to get obliterated. We're going to move it over there. We're going to go, right, everybody, here's now the gap. There's going to be a lot of failure between here and there, but we need to get there. Do you see what I'm saying? And that is how you build your business. And that is why, you know, you will fail forward. You will not just be gifted success. And your mindset needs to be ready at all times for, right, what's gonna go wrong today? What problem am I gonna get? And again, you know, I see people in life, not just in my business and not just in the academy, but all around you. When there's no pressure, they don't create pressure themselves. Now, the good thing about having your own business is that you haven't got a boss, but that is also the worst thing, because when you haven't got a boss and you haven't got someone cracking the whip, you've got to crack your own whip, haven't you? But some people, even if they aren't a boss, you know, like an owner of a business, this is again, it's a mindset. This is irrelevant whether you're an employed, whether you're an owner of a business or whatever it is. This is a mindset. When I was employed, even if I wasn't asked to, I would always create my own pressure. I would always go and find something that wasn't right and fix it. And I'd always, because that's how my head works. And again, I don't see myself as special, but, you know, sometimes I think I am, but because, well, it's not because I am special, it's because other people ain't fucking special. And I think that there's just, again, it's a mindset thing. And this is why we talk about mindset, because if you're thinking, right, for instance, you know, you should be sitting down doing things every week. You know, you're not doing enough of it. So why are you not doing more of it yourself? Why does it take someone external to say to you, why aren't you doing this? And why, you know, this is obvious. Why are you not doing it? You know, and that's why I get irate with people when I look at things and go, all right, no one's been on your shoulder telling you what to do, but why didn't you just do it? Like, why have you not spotted this thing? And why have you not done it? Now, this is where I can't tolerate things, you know, with the poor mindsets, because that to me is an alien response to something that's an obvious thing that's sat right in front of you, you know. And again, I don't want to be flippant, because I've said, you know, we need to look at the childhood stuff. We need to look at the characters that we have around us and know, actually, sometimes it's just not right. You know, sometimes it's just not right. You know, sometimes you just got to look at something and go, they're never going to do it, you know, or they're never going to be capable of this. But that's not because they're not capable of it. It's because they're ignorant and they won't sit and self-reflect on why they have not achieved something that really they should have achieved. There was nothing stopping them. You know, when you look at, again, the academy, it's why we're here. When I look at that and go, nobody stops anyone from doing fuck all. You know, and you know, people say, "Well, I haven't got time. I'll struggle with this. I struggle with that." You're not struggling with anything. You are being ignorant, and you're being ignorant to what you want out of life and the people around you and all the rest of it. Those that depend on you, and you're avoiding things, and you're not doing this work on understanding yourself, because there's no one's fault. If it doesn't work, it's your fault. It's as simple as that. And again, that's a mindset. I look at my business and go, if that business doesn't work, it's my fucking fault. Yeah. If somebody in the business that I employ creates a problem, that's my fucking fault. Because I've employed them, I've let them fucking do it. So all right, I could blame them for things and think they might do it, but at the end of the day, it's my fucking fault. And that's taking responsibility, and that's my mindset. Then this is the difference between people that will correct a problem and see it and take responsibility for it, and those that won't. And again, before we finish off on this slide, because we've got to have resilience. If we're fragile, we ain't going to do it. We've got to accept the failure is going to happen. It's just going to be how you deal with it when it happens. Fragile egos will collapse under pressure, but normally because they've built an incorrect self-image based on ego and bullshit. And then once you lose control, it's hard to get it back. Again, I'm seeing that at the moment, where I've got examples of that, which I'm not going to go into. But losing control of situations, it's gone. You've lost control of it. It ain't coming back. So somebody else now needs to sort that out. And again, this is just these fucking weird, and I do these slides and I do these events and all the rest of it, and and then within days I see real time this unfold, like literally, and it's like you just can't fucking write it. But again, come back to these slides. I will send them out. But resilience has got to be in there. Expect to fail, because you are going to fail a lot. And you've got to be able to sit there and suck it up. Because, that's just life. And you should enjoy the failure, because in the failure, there's learning. And that, it's nice when you get things right. I've said this to you loads of times as well. When you get things right, you don't learn fuck all. You don't learn anything when you get it right. When you get it right, what's the first thing you do? You congratulate yourself. So what does that do? So if you got everything right for the next 5 years, I guarantee, here's a scenario for you. Let's just say from tomorrow, you start winning every job. You just can't put a foot wrong, and just luck is on your side all the time. And in 2 years' time, you've got the life you want. You've got everything you want. But you don't really know how you got there. It just happened because it was easy getting there. And this happens to people, by the way. I've always said, especially in the corporate world, corporate world's different. Entrepreneurial world is different. Again, you can get lucky in entrepreneurial, but it's very rare. But you can ride waves, and this is why some people that I know of that have got lucky with a few things that they've done in life. I'm not taking anything away from them, but they would say it themselves. They have got lucky. They realised they'd got lucky and sold the business out before they had to manage it properly, if that makes sense. And that's something that happens. Now, again, in the corporate sense, bullshit can get people to the top of a corporation, but it won't keep them there. They will get somewhere over a period of time, but sustainably it won't last, because we're not grounded in what we should be grounded in. Do you get what I mean? It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. But if you had that business where you've got, that massive success, but you don't really know why, because you didn't really make enough mistakes to learn. But then let's imagine then the mistakes and the issues start to happen, and you're thinking, fucking hell, what's going on? Your head would fucking fall off. I mean, believe me, no matter how much money you've got at that point, how successful you are, it would all be gone in the blink of an eye, because you have not got resilience to deal with problems. Now, when you have resilience to deal with problems, you will weather the storms. Yeah. But when you've had it too easy for too long, and then a storm comes, it's like, oh my God, I can't fucking deal with this. And I've seen that as well with people. So that's just something that you should be looking at problems and learning from them all the time, and not overreacting to them, no matter what they are. Because as long as you've got the right mindset, you will breeze through the good things, the bad things, and it'll just be another day in the office in the end. And as long as you're moving your scorecard forward and you're building your business, that is all that really matters. So the next point to bring up in this is strategic thinking and control. You'll never get in front of something that's already in motion. Planning creates the illusion of control and stops the panic. Stay ahead, and setbacks become pivots, not disasters. So just to go into those points. So you'll never get in front of something that's already in motion. Like I've already said before, once you lose control of something, you very rarely get it back. That's why organic is better than exponential and quick growth. And that's why, again, look at these examples I've given you earlier on about people who come in the academy and are all kung ho and fucking 200 mile an hour. Within 6 months, they're gone because they come in, they just create momentum that they can't keep on top of, and they lose control of it. And it's already in motion, so they can't get it back. So therefore, again, because they've come in on this wave of fucking hell, I'm perfect and I'm better than everybody else. Look how busy I am. And then it all goes wrong. Their ego cannot take that. It's like, fuck, I can't be seen as someone who's not succeeding. It's that, and I hope I'm making sense there. Planning creates the illusion of control and stops the panic. Again, the procrastinating, lack of planning is normally the root cause of that. And planning creates the illusion of control, because if we think we've got a plan, we've got a plan. And normally, even if we've got a plan, it turns to rat shit anyway. But at least if there's a change to that plan, it's a pivot and not a disaster. Whereas if we start something and go, well, we're just going to have a go, and then something goes wrong, we think, oh, fucking hell, it's a disaster straight away. Whereas if we've got the plan and we go, right, that plan's going to slightly change to this, that's called a pivot. But if we have, and the reason why we pivot is because we have a problem. Now, if we have a plan, then a problem, we can call it a pivot. If we have no plan and a problem, we call it a disaster. That makes sense? Because we ain't started because, but then we just looked at the problem. And again, I think this is where some people who don't make it in the academy see that there's, I don't know sometimes what they fucking see, but they didn't come in with a plan. They thought we were going to do it for them. So as soon as there's a problem, it's become a disaster. And again, we're starting to, you'll probably notice that there's not been loads of new members over the last 2 or 3 months because we have purposely not been taking on a lot of people, a handful here and there. And that's because we have been a lot stricter on who comes in, because it's not for everybody. And we recognize that, and I want the right people in there, because at the end of the day, we give them a free website, we spend a lot of time on them. We don't want to waste that time on idiots. So that's that slide. I hope that one makes sense. Just to recap on it: strategic thinking and control. You'll never get in front of something that's already in motion. Planning creates the illusion of control and stops the panic. Staying ahead and the setbacks become pivots, not disasters. And like the quote at the bottom there, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Mike Tyson. So again, this is quite a big one, which we're going to come on to in a lot more detail in a moment. So being a commodity versus being valuable. So the commodity rule: can I be replaced quickly or easily? If you see yourself as a commodity, customers will too. Confidence to charge more comes from clarity on your value. Again, this is the mindset around your pricing, which you all have this problem at different times. Now, when we're looking at this, commodity rule. So just sit there and ask yourself, can I be replaced? If I shut my business, quit my job, whatever, how long would it take for me to be replaced? Now, if that's under a week or two, you are probably a commodity. If that business or your business, obviously your business would suffer. So for you, it's probably the wrong analogy, but you get what I'm saying? It's not the wrong analogy, because the way you could look at it is, could the customer ring another business and get exactly the same thing from them that you're doing? The answer to that should be no, because your insurance-backed warranty is in place. You're going to do a great job for them. You're going to do, your warranty and all the rest of it. You're going to project manage the job. You are a one-man or a smaller solution, but you will give the better result than the big sheds, and you know that. So that's where seeing the value in that is important. because if you don't see the value in it, you'll think you're a commodity. And if you think you're a commodity, your customers will think you're a commodity too. And I said at the event, if a customer ever emailed me back and said, thanks for your quote, I'm going to get a few more and I'll come back to you, I always knew they'd come back. Because if they were fishing around, I knew that I would, not obviously right at the beginning, but later on, I knew that when they got our videos, our emails, our quote, all that, I knew for a fact that when they got them all out side by side, that we would be the best. I just knew it, So 9 times out of 10, when they said that they were going to shop around, I knew that that was practically in the bag. And again, knowing that that's the case, again, if you're not going to be there straight away, but there's no reason why all of you on here, and I've said this loads of times as well, is you should all be looking at your local competitors going, I need to have the most Google reviews and the best website and the best social media. And, that's it, and the best way of getting customers. If I can get above everybody else in those areas over the next few years, then I'm laughing. My life will be in a such better place. And that's true. So that's where being a commodity versus being valuable is really important. Right, okay, so moving on. So this one's really important. So the real work is learning new things and unlearning old habits, industry norms. Sit down, show up and do the work. This isn't about hype, it's about habits. And just remember that I am going to send you these slides. But, the new things that we ask you to sort of take in your brain need to replace the things that are in there at the moment. And I think this is one of the most important points that I want to make tonight, is that it's the unlearning that's important, not just the learning. And sitting down, showing up and doing the work is really as simple as it is, and not conforming to the industry norms of, being a fitter, just working for wages and all that stuff. There's something else here. And I know you're aware of that. I'm not trying to, tell you how to suck eggs, but just be reminded that the real work is in doing the simple stuff. Again, it's about hype. It's not about hype, it's about habits, and moving through these and unlearning the things that don't serve you and replacing it with bigger and better. So when you know your why, you can endure any how. So this is the point, back to what we were making before about your self-image again, and the procrastination point that's been brought up tonight and stuff like that. When you know your why, you can endure any how. So that how you get there is doing the stuff that's in the academy, not procrastinating. Now that how at the minute feels, oh, that's too big, or can't, whatever the reason is why I can't seem to break it. But when the why of why you're trying to do it is known to you, then you can endure the hows. The how-tos are not the things they're not the important things. We all do things every week that we don't enjoy doing. And that's just part of life. That's part of being a grown-up. And when we know why we're doing what we're doing, we can endure the hows, if that makes sense. But just to close these few slides off before we jump into the 7 mindset shifts. Yeah, and again, this is important, innit? I think no one would disagree that this isn't really important. What happens in your head affects your entire body and life. Thoughts can cause illness, burnout, anxiety, or it can cause confidence and growth. You owe it to your family, your clients, and your future to protect your inner world. You can't stop the waves, but you can learn how to surf. And protecting your mental health is obviously got to be the number one priority, because you drive the business, but your brain and your mind drives you. So all the things that I've given you tonight are really important in terms of keeping that mental health in check. And I will send you the slides. You can watch this again. This will be quite a long one because we've been going for quite a bit. And we've got a little bit more to do yet, so don't dive off yet. But again, you'll be able to watch this video whenever you want, and look at the slides as well, because if you can get these things in check, naturally, mental health suffers when those things I've mentioned tonight are not in check. Again, we're going to just look at them very quickly. The power of the mind. programming from childhood, awareness and ownership, resilience versus fragility, strategic thinking and control, being a commodity versus being valuable, and then doing the real work. If we do those things and we have purpose, and you're using the academy, your WhatsApp groups, and you're speaking to me and Lee properly, and you're getting the support that you need, your mental health as a result will be a lot better, because some of you will be suffering in silence because you are keeping things to yourself, because you think that that's the thing to do, and it isn't. Getting these things under control is the thing to do, and if you need help doing them, reaching out and getting that help. It really is. That sounds like I'm oversimplifying it, but trust me, that is it. This is where your head is. You're going to be challenged no matter what you do. You are going to be challenged no matter what you do. And again, like I've already said tonight, pick your hard. Where do you want to be on the spectrum? Because it's going to be difficult no matter where you are between now and the day you die. So pick which one you want. And if you can get these things under control, none of them in isolation are difficult. None of them in isolation are difficult. But if we can get them right, we will have a much better mental health. Okay. So I just want to make sure that you don't forget that. Okay. So the tradesperson to business owner mindset, the 7-step core shifts that unlock everything else. So let's dive into these, because these are important. And I'll again, you'll get copies of all these slides. Opposed. The old mindset that I charge by the new way I charge the value by decoupling time from money. So for those that can't get it in their head, when we trade time for money, there is a finite feeling that hit. And that's why being on the tools doing labour only is not going to get you where you want to be in the long run, because you are restricted naturally by mathematics. Let's face it, it's not difficult to work out. It's mathematics. And this is where understanding your value proposition, like what we teach in the academy, customers dream outcome and all the rest of it, is you delivering the end result. What but doing the intrinsic value of it and not what it's worth to the customer, then you are gonna struggle more, because you are disconnected from what you're actually doing for that person. Bear in mind, when you're going to be in someone's house for 2 or 3 weeks doing a project, it's a big deal. So understanding that is really important, and not sort of skipping over it going, oh, it's just a kitchen, it's just a bathroom. That's you thinking like you. And that's why P-fitters just go, oh, well, I'm just, the slide's playing music. Can you hear music? Shouldn't be. I can't hear any music. I'll carry on. If there is a music problem, please let me know. So yeah, not understanding that the time. Hang on a minute. Yeah. So it is playing music. Sorry. I don't know why it's playing music. I will not play the slides anymore. I don't know why it's doing that. So what I will, so it's only on the slides. What I'll do then is I'll just go through the points on the screen, and I'll send you the slides in the group later. So we've already covered from being paid for time, being paid for value. As I've said, decoupling time from value is up to you, not to think like the tradesperson. Remember, the tradesperson inside you want to charge for the time and get, you know, money in return for that time, which is where it was the entrance music, apparently. Fuck knows. I don't know why it's playing that. I did copy the slides over for this. It's obviously dragged the audio over somewhere and pissing around, but I don't know. I don't know if I can. But it might do it again, actually. Tell me if it does it now. It shouldn't do, because I've just muted it. So I'm hoping, as a test run, did that work on the slides then? Because I want to try and show you these slides if I can. Just tell me if the music came on then on that last slide. We aren't far off being done now, but if you can, let me know. Right, cool. So it's all right. Right, sound. Right, cool. Right, nice one, guys. Right, so let's move on. I have muted the slides, which I don't know why they've fucking got sound anyway. So like Scott was saying before, just to go back to that, it's don't charge for what you do, charge for what it's worth. It's such an important point, because we can't be, as tradespeople, remember, let me just go back to the front slide, because I don't want to skip over this. Tradesperson to business owner mindset. The tradesperson would want to charge for the time. The business person charges for the value. And what we've got to do is charge for the value, yeah? Not think, well, you know, like customers would always come back to me and go, oh, you know, it's a bit more expensive than what I thought it was going to be. I said, well, no one's as good as us in a roundabout way. You know, we're offering you this, and that. We look after you like this, and that. You understand what I mean? There's lots of value in your sales process when you do it properly. So following that is really important. So we've covered the time. Then we've got from doer to a leader. Again, tradesperson wants to be a doer, but what we want is to, as a business person, become a leader. So the old mindset is I do everything myself. The new mindset is I lead the business. I don't just run the jobs. And the takeaway from that is that if you don't growth dies if you don't delegate and systemize. And again, that's where doing things like your 90 minutes, planning your 90 minutes, doing your cash flow, doing your scorecard, at the very core level of business, and to be fair, that stays the same no matter how big your business gets, but they're the sort of early processes and systems that we want to get in place in our business that we operate on a weekly basis, because that's the thing that moves the business forward. But again, that's leading, leading on site, leading to your customers, being a leader, not being seen as a tradesperson in the van and the tools and talking tradesperson type talk, coming across like more of a leader. I'm here to manage this project for you. I'm going to make sure the design's done right. I'm going to give you the best price I possibly can. I'm going to look after you. I'm the leader. This is how you need to be coming across. A tradesperson walks in and goes, oh, right, okay, well, it's going to be this amount of money for that and that, you know. Do you understand what I'm saying? The whole persona around everything is different when you're a leader and a business owner. And that is what we're trying to be. So the next one is from reactive to proactive. So you've got old mindset, I will deal with stuff when it comes up, and the mindset, I plan ahead, forecast, and lead the direction of the business. Again, I sort of went into it a little bit a minute ago. Most people are firefighting. Your job is to build fireproof systems. So again, being from reactive to proactive, we've already had Scott bring up procrastination. You know, why are we procrastinating? Because we're not being proactive, are we? In all honesty, we're being reactive. We're not planning ahead. If we plan, forecast, and lead the direction of the business, then, you know, even if it is you and your subcontractors and your designer, or, you know, whoever it is that's in your business, us, you know, we're in it together. It's important for you to be the leader, like we just said, and the leader needs to be proactive and not reactive. So yeah, it's just a really important one. That again, the tradesperson wants to be reactive, but the business person wants to be proactive. And it's not even like reactive, even as a tradesperson is successful. It isn't. It's not successful. You know, it never is. This is why people sort of always say, you know, I'm always running around, I'm always doing this, I'm always doing that. And it's like, yeah, but you're just being reactive. You need to start being proactive. So again, the business person inside you needs to make that shift. Number 4 is from isolation to community. And again, old mindset, I'll do it myself. The new mindset is I succeed faster when I'm in a room with the right people. And again, I brought this up on Friday, perfect time when you're in the room with the right people. Isolation is expensive. Community is the fast lane. Are you using the people around you and your community? I'm in your community. Lee and my team are in your community. Other academy members are in your community. Are you coming up to are you watching the content that we put out? Are you coming to the events? Because that's your community that's going to take you from isolation, from being you and your van with your tools, to being part of something. Think of what you're part of here. You're part of this academy network that, although it's still you and your business, there's a wealth of knowledge and support here to help you do what you need to do. And the tradesman inside you wants to stay isolated, but the business person inside you recognizes that the community is important and having people around you is really important. So don't let that one fall between the cracks, because that is definitely going to be one that, again, I know there's a lot to take in here, and that's why I'm going to give you the slides. That's why you can come back to this and watch it whenever you want. But not being isolated is really important. Again, let's go back to the mental health thing and all the rest of it. Being on your own is shit. Feeling like you're on your own is worse. And, you're not on your own. So don't act like you're on your own, because you're not. There is something here for you. And use the community that you've got. Use your WhatsApp groups, come to the events, watch the content, do everything you can to integrate yourself, because it really will help you move forward. So number 5 is from grafting to growing. Again, this is old mindset is hard work equals results. The new mindset is hard work plus systems plus support is sustainable results. Now, the takeaway from this one is are you building a business or just a busier job? So grafting is what the tradesman wants to do, and growing is what the business person wants to do. And that's why another mindset shift is in there, from grafting to growing, because if we always think that grafting and working hard is the only thing that's going to bring us results, then again, we're going to have problems, because we can't work hard until the day we die. At some point, we have to have built something that can look after us. And hard work plus systems plus support is the sustainable result that we want. Where are we going to get the hard work from? Well, we'll do that. That's what you need to do. Smart systems is using the tools and stuff that we give you early on, and we'll evolve them over time. Using the support that you've got with us and the people around you equals the sustainable results. This is how you're going to make it. And the tradesman, again, inside you wants to be the hero. I want to graft my way to success, but you need to grow your way to success. That's how it works. And growing isn't like, going from 1 job to 2 jobs to 10 jobs a month. I don't mean that sort of growth. I mean growth in your mindset. Remember, tonight's about mindset. It's not all about business growth. The business won't grow ahead of you. You have to grow first. You will not have that business. No one wakes up and goes, oh, look how well the business is going, but my head's been not quite on it. That's not going to happen. If your head's not been quite on it, the business will suffer. Again, I've experienced that multiple occasions, because it does take a catalyst to make things happen, and normally it's going to be what goes on in your head. So grafting to growing is a really big one as well. Remember, I will give you the slides so you don't have to worry about coming back to these. So from insecurity as the tradesman to self-worth as the business mindset. So the old mindset is I'm just a fitter stroke tradesperson. The new mindset is I am a brand, a solution, and a leader. And we've covered a bit of that tonight already. So the takeaway from this is you'll never sell something that you don't believe in, especially if that something is you. And this is a really big point, because you are the thing that customers are buying. How many times have I told you that customers are interested in the product to a degree? I've said they want to know that you're going to look after them for that 2 to 3 weeks that project is happening. You want to make sure that they are comfortable. And if you're not comfortable selling yourself, and you don't believe in yourself, then they're not going to believe in you either, and therefore you won't win the work. And basically what this comes down to is just doing a good survey, just turning up confident, turning up with your branded stuff, and believing in yourself. And if they feel that you're confident, you believe in yourself, even if you make a mistake, they'll forgive you, you know. And I think that's a lot of where my success came from with customers, because I had a lot of customers who used to say to me, "Oh, Aaron, you know, it's really good what you're trying to do. I can see what you're trying to do." And you know, I was a much younger guy at the time. But to a lot of my customers that are in the 50s and 60s, you know, and most of yours will be as well, I'd imagine, because they've got the cash. Let's face it. You know, you get this sort of recognition, and they want you to be successful. You know, people do actually want you to be successful a lot of the time. And that's why, you know, having that self-worth is important, and getting rid of that insecurity that you're just a fitter or a tradesperson. People want to see you succeed. And, you know, going into these surveys, you know, it's the first time you're normally going to meet a customer. Walking in as a brand and a solution and a leader. Remember, how many times have I said as well, turn up as a brand as well as a person. You know, you are solving a massive problem, so the solution piece is there as well, and a leader. You know, I am here to deliver your project. If you go in me, I'm going to deliver this project. You know, I've got standards, and they're going to see that, and they're going to go, yeah, I want this guy to do my job. And then that's how you win, by not being insecure as a tradesperson and knowing your self-worth as a business person. And you know, and again, don't get twisted about this business person thing. And I covered this at the event as well, where I said, just because you're a tradesperson now in the van doesn't mean you can't think like a business person. You will have a long period of time where you're still driving a van, you're still picking up tools, but you are allowed to think like a business person. You know, it is not like, I remember being in my vehicle and driving around with tools and whatnot, doing all sorts of bits of shit. But I always thought like a business person, you know. I didn't always. I always tried. You know, it's not something that just comes naturally to us when we're in that world. But I was determined to get that right. Yeah, and it did work out for me in the end. It was something that worked, you know. But that's where you've got to not think that because I'm a tradesperson, I can only think like a tradesperson. Just because you're a tradesperson means fuck all. Remember, this self-image thing is the future you will be a business person. So if I start thinking like a business person now, bang, you're not going to suddenly wake up and go, oh, I don't need to pick up my tools anymore. Oh, and then now I'll start thinking like a business person. That is just not going to happen like that. It just doesn't. So I hope that makes sense. And again, a number 7, the final step in this is from short-term focus to long-term vision. Again, you know, how critical I find this. So I'll come on to this in a second. But the old mindset is I just need work next week. And the new mindset is I'm building something I don't need to escape from in 5 years. The takeaway is what is your business worth if you stop showing up tomorrow? Now, obviously, early on, it'd be worth fuck all if you stop showing up tomorrow, because usually there's only us. But having the fixation on long-term vision is really important. And again, this is directly linked into the mindset. It's directly linked into the self-image, because the long-term vision is our self-image and the business image. Do you get what I mean? And that's why it's really important not to fixate on the short term and try and fix short-term problems all the time, because otherwise we lose sight of that long-term vision. And, you know, when people come into the WhatsApp group sometimes, and you know who you are, if you're still here, yeah, I think, yeah, some people, because again, the reason why I'm saying that is because some of the people who say this shit don't last. Because when people come in, you know, and say, "Oh, I haven't got any work booked in," they'll like booking a call and go, "I need to speak to you. I've got a problem." Like, "What? I haven't got any work booked in. Like, I've only got 2 weeks worth of work booked in." You're like, "What? You know, what the fuck? What can I do about that now?" Like, seriously, you know, at what point were you going to start, you know, worrying about this? And why is booking a call in with me going to solve that? What can I do for you in this time? Like, the answer's nothing. You know, I can give you some tips to get some quick wins in, but fucking hell, you can't. This isn't a strategy for success. And, you know, we have always got people out of the ship with a bit of good advice, but it's not the way. You know, this is not the way. And this is someone who's just focusing on short term. They're not breaking out of this tradesperson's thinking. They're not even attempting to think like a business person. And ultimately it paralyzes them because you can't survive like that. And chasing the next job is not. I know the next job is important, but if your mindset is just chasing the next job, it's not the way forward. Chasing the 5-year plan is the way forward, and getting a steady lead flow and understanding how your business works and getting your surveys right and doing your looms properly and managing your jobs, so getting your 5-star reviews, and your scorecard. That's why the fucking scorecard's there, because it makes sure those things happen. Make sure you're doing your cash flow sheet. Make sure that you're keeping on top of where everything's happening and all the rest of it. That's long-term vision. That's why it matters. And again, what did we say about scorecards at the event? I think it was Matt who said, and Lee, and to be fair, Lee said, this comes up a lot, this. And I was like, what? What comes up a lot? Well, people don't like looking at the scorecards because of the red. I'm like, all right, so since when does a scorecard ever start green? It fucking doesn't, and I think a deadly silence fell on the room when I sort of said this, because everyone thought they were making a point that, oh yeah, it's demoralizing when you see the scorecard and it's red. And I'm like, well, that is the ego talking there, because we don't like looking at a red scorecard. How are we going to turn the fucking scorecard green? How are we going to turn the fucking scorecard green if it's always going to be red to start with? But we won't go and do it because it's red. I mean, fucking hell. I mean, just say that back to yourself and please tell me that isn't fucking stupid, But what's going on in people's heads is my ego won't let me look at a red scorecard. My scorecard should be green. I shouldn't have a red scorecard because I'm perfect. And how can I dare allow myself to do that? But if you don't fucking sit there and look at what's wrong on the scorecard, you don't know what to do. So you've got to see through the insanity of those comments and the fact that, I was told that a lot of people say this, and, a few people who go, oh, yeah, like hanging on my next word. Oh, he's just about to solve it. Oh, fucking hell, here we go. It's like, no, I'm not about to solve fuck all. Get a grip, because it's always going to be red at the beginning. And even if it's red or green, does it matter? Because you're going to have to do the same tasks each week, no matter what. And it's only through time are we going to get the greens when we've done a few weeks of it and we start to see the results of doing it. If we don't do it, so my point is, whether you look at, so for the first, say, 5 to 6 weeks of doing your scorecard, it's red every week. But it's not red because you start doing stuff. So you start seeing greens at the top because you're starting to do stuff. And then over time, the greens filter down. So what happens is, the bottom of your scorecard's red for quite a while. The greens start up here. You're never going to get cash in the bank, leads and proposals signed straight away, are you? So your green boxes are going to start at the top of the scorecard. And then what happens is you get the cascade effect. So the greens start doing this until they start hitting the bottom line. Well, that line is as long as you make it. If you work hard, that line will drop fast. If you fuck around, then the line may stay there forever because you're not doing the stuff at the top of the scorecard to start bringing the green boxes down towards the bottom. Does that make sense? So, yeah, but either way, whether it's green or red, you've still got to do the work. What difference does it make? It doesn't make any difference. The work still needs to be done. So it's a silly one, that. It really is. But, this is, again, not being able to fail. What have I said tonight about the mindset of I don't want to fail. I can't fail. It's like, well, you're gonna fail. You're gonna see a red scorecard, mate. You're gonna see a shit cash flow sheet 1 month, if not a few months, if not all of the months, until you start getting better. And that is just the way it is. And you've got to go through that to get to the better place. You can't walk and just get the roses straight away. You've got to get the thorns and the shit. You've got to get to the rose. You've got to walk up the path with all the shit on it, and then go through all the thorns. Yeah, and that's how you get to the rose. You can't. No one's going to go, always the rose and it's fine. And there. You don't need to do the hard stuff because you're special. No, you have to go through the red scorecards. You have to go through the tasks, no matter if they're red or green. So what fucking difference does it make? So the final thoughts on all this mindset stuff is you will become what you tell yourself you are, is the main one I wanted to dwell on here. So if you, again, and we have said this plenty of times, just in different ways, but what you will become what you tell yourself you are. Again, self-image, all this type of stuff matters a lot. And thinking that you need to be great at stuff is also not true. And again, we covered this a number of times on the 11th as well, where we don't need to be great. We need to be good at most things, and good being repeated makes us great. Yeah, having if you got a year and you got, you're going to work, I don't say 365 days, don't matter. If 280 of those days are good, that is a great year. Does that make sense? It's not about every day being great. People doing the 90 minutes. So if you can't get 90 minutes, just do 30, do 40, do 20. It doesn't fucking matter. Just get the tasks done on that scorecard and keep the weekly to-do list up to date in the academy, and your business will magically start moving. And it's funny when people come and go, I'm getting leads and getting jobs and all the rest of it. And I'm like, what is it you're doing specifically? And I know the answer already, but I just want to see what they will say. Well, the answer is I'm just doing bits of everything. There's not really one thing that's driving it. It's a number of things. Now, when I hear that, I go, right, I'm happy with that. And this is why, my feelings towards Facebook ads and the Facebook ad agencies that promise you things, because they're just promising something that's unrealistic. And even if an ad agency could give you all the leads that you want, and you didn't need to do any marketing or anything yourself, it wouldn't last forever. You might get 6 months out of it, but eventually the responsibility will fall back to you. These agencies will go missing at some point. It's just when, and I've seen it loads of times where you won't get the responsibility ever removed from you. You will always have to hold that responsibility yourself. And even if you get 6 months out of it, you will always come unstuck, and you the power of one is awful. You don't want to be reliant on one thing for getting leads. That's why doing a mixture of different things and growing your brand locally and just getting your name out there is the best way. Referrals, leaflets, online profiles, word of mouth, all that type of stuff, social media, your van, your sign writing, all the just everything, reviews, just all the things that when a customer goes looking, they've got a chance to find you. If you do everything that's in the academy, they've got a chance to find you. If you try to just do one thing and, even if it works, and this is where I get concerned again, even with people being successful, where they turn around and go, yeah, I'm doing this, and they're like, but they don't really know where the leads are coming from. That's a fucking problem, because if the leads stop, they don't know how to fix it. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that's why the scorecard's important, because if they're doing the scorecard, they'll understand where the leads are coming from. So if there's a problem, they'll be able to spot it and fix it. And not using the CRM properly as well. That's a crime in itself, what we covered on Friday, that the CRM system needs to be used, and the design service will be linked directly into the usage of the CRM. So, make sure that you are using it properly. So, final one on this now is your life now is a result of what you did a year ago. For all of us, that's true. Your life a year from now will be a result of what you do now. So, and again, and I said to everybody in the room at the event, go back a year. This is how you know if you're on track or not, right? Go back 12 months and think, where was I 12 months ago? What was I doing? Is now better than then? If I could take the success from the last 12 months and replicate it in the next 12 months, would I be happy? So there's a few questions there. And then if I would be happy, if I times it by 10, would I be happy with that? And in most people in the room, if not everybody, especially though not people that are brand new, but people that have been around for a while, they all sort of unanimously said, yeah, although I'm not where I want to be, I I am aware that I've made progress. If I make the same amount of progress in the next 12 months, I'll also be happy with that. And if I times it by 10 and thought that's where my business will get, or I will get, I'll be happy with that. And that's how you know if you're on the right track. Now, if you're looking at it going last 12 months, you know, if you've not been in the academy 12 months, probably not fair. But, you know, let's assume 6 months or 3 months or whatever it may be. You know, look at that time scale and take it from there and chuck it forward and say, yes, I would be or not happy. And that's how you know if you're actually on track or you're not on track. Okay. So that's that, guys. You know, your life right now is a result of where you'll be. Your life right now is a result of what you did a year ago. Your life a year from now will be a result of what you do right now. So act accordingly. And that is the message. Act accordingly. Get your mindset in check and act accordingly. And if you do that, you'll be fine. But again, I'll send these slides out. I will give you, obviously, always the opportunity to ask more questions. If you've got any questions now, let me know in the chat, because we are done now. So we'll be signing off shortly. But again, I'll send you these slides in the News and Updates Academy WhatsApp group so everyone can get them who's in the academy. And just make sure, even if you print them out, honestly, I would print these out and stick some of them on the wall, because some of these things that you struggle to do, especially the 7 mindset shifts, they want to go. If you've got an office wall or someone that somewhere in the house that you can, you know, like an office that you can stick things on the wall, I would honestly print some of these off and do that. And make sure that they're always visible, or even if you just print them off, staple them and just look at them every now and then. There really are something to reflect on these. They really are. Okay.